everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and I have the most beautiful guest today, Sara Ford, who is a light worker, a Marconic energy practitioner, and she also has a day job in marketing and I believe advertising, right, Sara?
Yes.
So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for asking me to do it. I'm excited to be here with you.
I was so grateful you said yes. But yeah, I like to always go back to the beginning and kind of find out what your foundation was. You know, who were you as a child? Mm-hmm. Where were you raised? And maybe speak to a couple of standout moments that kind of pushed you on this journey, you know, to self-discovery.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's see. It's so fun to go back and think about it because it was so long ago yet not. But I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, in the Midwest, and I grew up in a Christian home. St. Louis is, you know, in the middle of the country. It's quite close to the Bible Belt of America. And while, you know, we did go to church every Sunday, my mom always kind of had an interest in mysticism and other things that they really didn't talk about in the church. And I did enjoy going and learning the stories that we would hear, you know, in Sunday school, and having that experience in community and people, because that's obviously so important and as far as being a human, and having connection and support. But I didn't really feel like that was kind of my sanctuary and what soothed me and where I found my comfort. And I really truly found my comfort being outside in nature and being in doing things with art. And my mother's also an artist. My mom definitely has had a huge impact on just my spiritual journey and development in who I am.
How awesome that you had that like support.
Yeah.
You know, that she was very open-minded and not forcing you into this one box.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, she definitely didn't. And I remember her even kind of challenging some of the things the church would say occasionally. Not often, but getting to see her kind of like take that other stance showed me that like you don't always have to agree with everything that they are preaching to you.
And maybe discernment is what she was showing you, which is such a key element to us, anyone walking this path, is that discernment piece is so important, right?
Definitely.
Oh, kitty cat.
Parents. She loves Zoom. Because I do meetings, you know, every day for work, and anytime she hears people's voices, she usually makes her appearance.
Oh, that's
but my mom really, I mean, I feel like she kind of shined the light on ultimately what I would find to be my path, in taking, you know, going to spiritual bookstores and getting to see crystals and getting to see books that I couldn't have dreamed that they existed, you know, with just stories and stars and astrology and all of that.
So much expansion comes when we're in that sponge and seeking phase, right?
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
Like new concepts and ideas and kind of aha moments. And like I always think that, you know, as we're going through that and we're kind of absorbing all of this knowledge, it feels very fresh and new. But the further I've gone on my journey, I realized we're actually remembering.
Yeah.
It's like we're kind of going back and actually awakening to remembering these truths that we've kind of buried and forgotten in this human life, you know?
Totally. That gives me just kind of this visual of going into those stores and seeing all those amethysts. And it was almost more like my mom was like, remember these? You used to work with these crystals. Do you know what these are?
That's incredible. And, how cool that you had that support growing up.
Yeah, it was. She has been a vital, just kind of voice of support, but also letting me find my way. She definitely gave me.
That is such a big gift, you know, when we're able to give our children that It's such a big gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that means you have to sit back and watch them make choices and decisions that maybe you can see where they're going, and you still have to just love
Hang
them.
back.
Hey, it's your journey, right?
Yeah.
So I hope you find your way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're kind of veering off track right now.
Get back on.
Yeah.
It's so true though. And I think, I mean, for just as parents, I mean, you and I have talked about this before, and just letting our own children have that space and permission to make those decisions.
That's unconditional love. That's what taught me unconditional love, was to really surrender control and just let everyone follow their own path.
Yeah.
That's so much. So many lessons, of course, I had to go through to get to that place, but it's a gift, really, if you can get there.
Yeah.
For children, right?
Yeah, truly. And I mean, I do think about just the concept, you know, that our children do kind of assist us. You know, it's not just us assisting them, but they're assisting us.
Oh my gosh, I've realized that all of my growth has really come from being a parent and a partner, you know.
Yeah.
Your soul family.
Yeah.
Acted to help us to move forward in life. I wanted to circle back because you had mentioned when we were talking before that you had this moment when you were a child and you were around first grade playing in your front yard. And I was wondering if you could share that story.
Yeah. I just, it's so beautiful. Every time I go back to St. Louis, not every time, but often I do go back and pass the houses that I kind of grew up and had different chapters. And it's so funny because in my mind that yard was so big, but it was actually so tiny. I spent a lot of time on that, you know, in that front yard. And we lived there like when I was in kindergarten and first grade. But I remember being outside and spending a lot of time out there. And I remember a very clear, distinct moment of knowing that I chose to come here, that I chose to be on Earth, because I remember questioning a lot why we were here, what's the point of all of this, like a lot of the things that people worked so hard for and cared so much about were not things that I really felt called to just, you know, really hustle for. And but I had this knowing that I came for a reason and I was going to be here for this moment of truth for the entire planet, and that truth was going to come.
And what was going to come?
That the truth would be revealed of what mattered and why we were here.
Sara, that's so powerful.
It was, I'll never forget it. It was just like, you're here, just, you got to wait for it. It's all going to be revealed at some point. And to be 7 years old,
right,
and kind of have that. And I remember it was something I have never forgotten. And I remember thinking, you know, when the internet became a thing, I was like, maybe this is it, because now people can talk and secrets can't be kept and people can say, do you know what's going on here? And, you know, and I'm like, no, that wasn't it. There's more.
But wait, there's more. Coming.
Yeah. And truly, just through childhood, I really did have some just, you know, some powerful times where I recognize them as messages. At the time, I didn't understand that's what they were.
Yeah.
And I've gotten them all through my life. But, you know, I didn't have, I know that a lot of my friends have talked about having friends and beings that they would talk to and things like that. I didn't have that. Everything came through me. It was like, it was a message from me, and I knew that it was coming from me. And it was just like, just hold on. You're going to see. I just, you know, just be patient. And so that kind of instilled in me some trust and faith that I was going to see other things besides just going to school and college and buying a house and whatever, all of these other, you know, 3D things that are necessary for survival, but they weren't things that I was inspired
attached to or defined by, or
it didn't, none of that kept me going, but knowing and just having this powerful understanding that, you know, just kind of the laws of oneness, you know, was something that came early, and just with all of the children in the school wanting to be friends with everybody and not getting into groups and cliques, and just really kind of having just this compassion. Those things came very early for me. And when I think about that, it's just, I really am kind of like, that's totally amazing to have that sort of insight at such a young age, but to know that higher truth was coming and I needed to be here to witness it and help anchor it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what's so cool is that you had such a trust and faith in your alignment with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think so many of us are seeking outside of ourselves all the time, that we haven't fostered that from childhood. It's something that we have to relearn, and it takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So the fact that you had that from such an early age gave you such an alignment with your true north.
Yes.
You know, like you really could tap in and really listen and hear and know.
Yeah.
The information coming in was pure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there are a lot of people who are kind of like multivector. I don't know I don't know if multivector is the word, but they're like satellite dishes, and so they're getting information
Mm-hmm.
from a lot of different places.
Mm-hmm.
Higher dimensional communication with a lot of different beings, getting information from a lot of different places and sources on our planet's surface, you know, whether it's from YouTube or meditations, or they're just always seeking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the seeking experience is valuable for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get, we're not going to get more pure information from anyone but ourselves, ultimately.
Truly.
So how beautiful that you were able to, from a very early age, when you weren't even cognizant of it, have that awareness and those experiences throughout your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was really, I think, to just kind of foster that connection early really kind of helped, you know, ground me into knowing that there is more outside of my mother's garden, and I will get to find out and be a part of that growth. And it really, it's just kind of indescribable. I mean, I can go back into that time and space just immediately, and just knowing that I kind of opened that up for myself, you know, it makes me very grateful to myself, you know, for saying, let me give you this information. You need this to keep going, because it was almost like, I understand this is not fun. And this is not, you know, it's being a human is hard.
Being a human, especially and particularly at this time, is so difficult. Challenging. Especially if you are a light being and higher vibrational being. And I think what's happening for a lot of people too, which is making it more difficult, is on a higher level, you're being asked to choose yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's a difficult choice for many people, because they're so used to pleasing others, and what other people think is so important, that it's difficult to stand in your truth and be who you're meant to be here. And that's exactly what is happening at this time.
Yeah.
People are being very pressed, and they're feeling very uncomfortable emotionally, because things are being stripped from them. They're going through very difficult circumstances to trigger that growth and choice.
Definitely. And I think also just, we almost seek these distractions to not go inward and sit with ourselves and do that incredible work. And if we're not able to kind of sit in the stillness and the quiet that a lot of this time has given us, you know, it's kind of like we miss the gold. We miss this beautiful lesson of like, you know, it's like, go inside. Like you have this incredible well of knowledge and information ready for you, and guides and team that's there for you.
Yeah.
But some people choose to stay distracted with.
I think there's a lot of fear of what they might find.
Yeah.
Because you find truth,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's hard to look at those really deep parts of you that aren't attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, it was very hard to look at my ego. It was hard to look at behaviors that I engaged in that weren't, you know, I wasn't living my highest and best life. It was a process to get here.
Yeah.
And you have things that you've done that you regret or whatever. It's hard to go here and look at those things and really love yourself through it and process it and don't let it go, right?
It's so true. And that's that specific thing, Wendy, is something that really came through for me in these last months, is those parts that are dark and that we don't want to look at and that we have a little bit of shame for, or you know, we want to stuff them down and not pay. Those parts need to be loved, and if we don't love them, they're not going to heal.
Right.
Getting to understand that and having the time to actually do that has been,
yeah, for sure. And it also, when you go there, you start to create a different perspective when you have the courage. And it gets easier over time. I think as we go further and we become more practiced in going into those dark recesses and corners of our psyche and our hearts, you know, I think it gets easier over time. We learn to transmute the pain a little bit faster and a little bit faster, and we're a little more forgiving towards ourselves. And eventually, when we get to that place of self-love, it's so freeing. You realize that you were fine all along. There was nothing wrong with you. It was all just to get you where you are today. Those were all just experiences, right?
Definitely. And that's something that's really not taught. That's something that our parents didn't have the tools to teach us.
Right.
To be okay with those parts of ourselves. And I feel like, you know, it's something that has definitely changed my parenting in the way that, you know, I want my daughter to see me do that, whether, you know, she does it or not, that's up to her. But I just feel like letting someone see kind of, you know, how to do that, and that is a thing. And, you know, those are tools and resources and that people need for their lives
I think that modeling is so powerful, because by living your best life and by doing your work and just how you're showing up in the world is so different than trying to force or educate or change someone. When you can just show up as your authentic self and model something really healthy and beautiful and model a template of how to move forward in life, I feel like that's so much more impactful than trying to force someone to change or to see your perspective. I think modeling it is the best thing we can offer to the people around us, right? It starts with us, right?
Yeah, I mean, to show them the experience and give it and say, this is how it's done. And I mean, I feel like that's just even something that we get to do as practitioners with our clients and say, this is how you do this. And they're just like, I didn't know it was that easy. And it's like, it is. But
it really is. You know, the concepts are very easy for ascension and growth, but the practice of it is very difficult. Right.
And the daily commitment to
the daily practice of it, and loving yourself through the ups and downs, because we're all humans. So you know, we take a few steps forward and then maybe slide back and go a little forward and slide back. We're doing that little cosmic cha-cha, you know, back and forth. I know that a huge part of your life was dance. How old were you when you started falling in love with dance?
Yeah.
And Sarah's an incredible belly dancer, for those of you who don't know her.
Well, thank you. So that actually, in that same house where I had that message, I also have very, very clear memories of standing in front of the mirror and exploring movement with the body and creating beautiful shapes and seeing what it's like to flow and work with the music as one to basically express the music through the body. So I became interested in dance very, very young. And fortunately my parents saw it and exposed me to it and let me get into ballet and jazz early. So I went to dance school throughout grade school, I think junior year in high school. I remember 8th grade is when I stopped. That was like the last of my spandex dance costumes. So many great pictures of them. But that was so wonderful because I had the foundations of ballet and jazz and tap, and getting to understand musical rhythms and floor patterns and the way that we kind of navigate through dancing. And then that was truly my art. I mean, my mom is a painter and does mixed media work, and my art and expression, and where I just felt like time and nothing else existed was whenever I would dance. And I still love it. I kind of took a break from it through high school and college. And then when I moved to Boston, I was looking for a way to meet other people outside of my job. Because I knew the people in my company and I had my baby, but I didn't know other girls, and I needed to find a community. And so I started looking up dance classes, and I thought, I'm going to get back into this. And what came up immediately was belly dance. And I was like, oh, I've never done this before. I mean, I know I love the music. And that was from Cairo, that exposed me to a bunch of music. And there was a day that he like downloaded 4,000 Egyptian songs.
Oh my gosh.
On my computer.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I had no idea that this was happening, but he knew that I was getting ready to move to Boston. And he's like, I want to give you a gift, because whenever we'd go out, he'd play Egyptian
Wait, who was this?
music. His name was Ahmed. He was from Cairo. He was just a friend. And
Wow.
Yeah. And as a going away gift, he took my laptop, and, you know, now I kind of think, oh, that's kind of shady, but but he put all this music, and I still have it.
These synchronicities are so incredible.
Library. Yeah.
How we just kind of, these threads just keep kind of pulling us forward in life, but you know, from backwards and forwards, you know, like here she gives you this music and you move, and then it's incredible, right?
I totally wasn't looking for, I mean, belly dance, but I knew that I loved the music, and I was really getting into it. And once you start, as you know, I know that you love Arabic music as well. Once you start listening to it, you develop an ear and a sense for it. And it was just like, I almost craved listening to it. So I'd go into that library and listen to it. And I didn't know how to dance that way, and I never even really tried. But then when belly dance came up, I just thought, this is it. This is the time.
I'm home.
I found my people, my women.
That's so cool.
And so I fortunately got hooked up to a few different teachers, and started going to classes, and realized all of a sudden that there are many different kinds of belly dance, and it's not just all Egyptian. There's Turkish, Lebanese, there's a Moroccan style. And then there's so many folkloric dances, and it just like burst open this huge box of treasures for me. So I was getting into each of the cultures and countries and musics and styles. And I ultimately, after many years, realized what spoke to me most was Egyptian style. And through that, I met someone that is a very dear friend and mentor, and ultimately became my teacher. And when I had asked some of these teachers about, if I want to go see a belly dance show, like who should I go see? Because I'm in Boston and I'm like, I don't know where to go, who's a great dancer. I wanted to see what was pure and authentic and real. So people had led me to a dancer named Nashmat, which means star in Arabic. And she, interestingly enough, became a very close friend, and very much became a very huge part of my healing journey. But she and I would take classes together, and she had hosted some workshops with dancers from Egypt. And
wow,
it's still something I love, and it's still something I'll put music on and I'll dance for 20 minutes, and it just completely changes how I'm feeling. Just to have that movement and release of stagnant energy. And
I love that.
It's this huge, beautiful aspect of my life that I love, but it is so much more than dance. It's also so much history and respect for the cultures where the dance comes from. And that's something that's very important to me. And I've studied a lot and continue to study a lot about it, just to truly understand the art form, because it's not just sequins and the music and the drums, it's feeling, and there's such a level of spirituality that comes with dancing that I really connected with, and I still connect with.
Yeah. I love that you have that in your life.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a very precious part of being a single parent and having this thing that was just for me, right, and kind of something that I always had, that I could always go to. And no matter what was going on with my work life and friends and motherhood and everything, that sacredness of having the dance and getting it to go into a dance studio and just kind of like let everything go was, and still is, something that I really have so much gratitude for. And I think that's probably how a lot of artists feel about, painting and photography. And
it's a gift. It's a gift. It's a pure expression of your soul, I think.
That's beautiful.
When you lose sense of time, when you're in your art form, whether it's dance or music, singing, composing, writing, painting, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Speaks to your soul.
It is. It's something, it's interesting just to kind of hear people's also perspective on finding dance. And I've had a lot of friends say, like, you're so lucky you have this thing that you love so much. And I've always thought that was interesting. And I'm like, well, I want you to have that for you too. Like, go find it.
Right.
I don't know. We
That's
all have
the thing. People don't realize that these things don't magically drop in our laps. We have to seek it, find it, foster it, develop it, right?
Yeah.
We have to figure out what is that spark that's missing in our lives that's going to fill my cup. Because and typically, people who are light workers are givers. They're healers. They're not used to giving back to themselves. So a lot of us have had a history of pouring from an empty cup. It's so important to fill that cup so that we can overflow and share and not be depleted. It's like we're always filling that cup, so we always have this wellspring to draw from, right? To give and help and share with the world our light and love. And we don't need to be martyrs anymore. Those days are over.
Thankfully.
Yes. I think, like what you're saying, it's so important that everybody go out and find that. What is that one thing that is sparking and lighting you up, where time stands still and just hours go by and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like,
lost track of time.
What day is it?
Yeah.
I'm eating dinner. Or
Exactly. Yeah. I hope people that are listening to this will take that to heart, if nothing else, and find that one thing that you can really, that you love, and you're doing it just for yourself. Just to make yourself, for the sake of joy. That's it.
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
What was it like, Sarah, being a single mom? It must have been so challenging, you know, just to know that everything rested on your shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been one of the challenges, but also greatest honors of my life, to have this beautiful soul, just so precious but ultimately, we never got married. We have remained friends. We're still close friends. We talk almost every day.
Wow,
Um,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But he lives in another state, and I left St. Louis
Mhm.
and came to Boston 14 years ago, and knew that I was undertaking, not only single parenthood, but also a full-time job and just everything. I was going to be doing that on my own. And it's hard. It's a commitment that is 24/7. You don't ever stop parenting, as you know. And
Yeah.
I fortunately, through my healing journey and spirituality, have been shown many different concepts and ways of thinking in parenting. And some of that is just giving myself the freedom to let her have her freedom in making choices and having experiences, because ultimately that's how she's going to grow and learn. No matter what I say or preach or do, she needs to have those experiences and opportunities to have feelings and thoughts and figure out what she likes and what she doesn't like, and kind of letting myself kind of detach from her experience is something that I think a lot of people initially kind of struggle with as a parent, because it's like, no, I have to control everything. And
100%.
I don't think
100%.
that you do have to control everything. I think that we need to let them have mistakes, and we
Yeah.
need to let them
I think
experience.
that was probably one of the biggest lessons for me. And
Mm.
it came much later in my children's lives. They were
Mhm.
already going off, out of high school when I started to realize that what I had been doing to them was parenting them from a place of fear.
Mhm.
And then when you're in that place of fear, you want to control everything to make
Mm.
sure that everything goes according to plan.
Mhm. Yes.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't go according to plan because the wild cards are your children who have different agendas and personalities. And they're like, we're not here to live your dream. We're here to live our dreams, and do what we want. So that was like a really pivotal moment. My younger son is a classical guitarist. And I had this dream that I really wanted him to study abroad,
Mm.
go learn from the masters, go to Europe. This is, every year I would ask him in college, what do you think of studying abroad? And he's super passive aggressive. Well, I'll think about it. Finally, by junior year, when you go and study abroad, he said, Mom, this is your dream, not mine.
Wow.
And I was like,
Yeah. Wow.
oh, you're right. You're
Newsflash.
right. I need to stop projecting my dreams on you. This is your life to live.
Mhm.
So yeah, I totally get it. And it was very humbling
Yeah.
for me to see where I had been trying to control or impact and put these beautiful beings and talented souls into these very rigid boxes, and how unfair of
Mhm.
me to do that to my children.
Mm.
They're here to be the fullest expression of themselves, not my idea of who they are. That was a big aha moment, like, oh, that's right, you get to live your life.
You're in charge.
Forgot about that
Okay.
part.
Oh my
But I
gosh.
just admire you for
Yeah.
moving with a toddler to a
Hmm.
new city. Gosh, Sarah,
Yeah.
I just
It's
can't imagine the challenges that you've overcome, to get this far.
yeah. I do, especially through my healing journey, and especially in the last 3 years, I do look back now and I just think, wow, like 14 years ago, at 30 years old. I packed up. My baby was in diapers. All my stuff got put on a truck and we flew here, and I knew 11 people. And
So courageous.
I mean, I look back at it now and I think, would I do that? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I would have the energy to do that now, but I just think that took a lot of balls. Like, but I'm just really kind of like, that's pretty amazing that I had so much fire and conviction. And but I remember having the opportunity to come here, and it was a choice, and my job moved me here. They said, you can either come or not. And I just remember thinking, like, I want to give her some other opportunities outside of St. Louis and the people that we know. And I just wanted a new beginning. I wanted to do something different. And we certainly had it. Like, it gave me dance. It's given me friends and connections and just so many things that, had I chosen the timeline of St. Louis and staying there, I would never be where I am now.
Isn't it amazing how we're faced throughout our lives with these really pivotal nexus points?
Mm-hmm.
And like, we're talking about timelines, right?
Yeah.
Do I marry this guy? Do I not marry this guy? Do I move from St. Louis? Do I stay in St. Louis? Do I take this job? Everyone is a timeline potential.
Mm-hmm.
And we can respond to those choices in fear and limit ourselves and remain small and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Or we can say yes to an opportunity presenting to us and really expand. I think every time you take a chance and you say yes to something that's a little uncomfortable or a little frightening or a little scary, you're giving yourself permission to expand in consciousness.
Absolutely.
Because that little bit of living on that little edge of fear, there's something about it that when you accept it and you take the torch and you go for it, it changes you and changes the entire trajectory of your life.
Completely.
You know?
A small synchronicity, and we love these. But in 6th grade, there was a raffle, and I won it. And on the what the raffle was an album. It was a vinyl album for the band called Boston.
What?
On top of it was their thing was a spaceship. And I remember thinking,
oh my gosh.
At the time, I remember actually thinking at the time, I was like, I wonder if I'll ever go to Boston someday. And I remember knowing, like, this is something. This is not just a raffle.
Something. Yeah.
Something.
That is so crazy, Sarah.
And yeah, I just like treasure that so much, because it's like, oh my gosh, like, I gave myself this little nugget. Even back then, I was dropping these little tokens of like, here's where you're going.
Those breadcrumbs are so key, because I think we all get them, but a lot of us don't pay attention. Mm-hmm. We're too busy. Too busy, Completely. So pay attention to those synchronicities, because they really are guideposts and signposts, kind of, pulling us along in our journeys,
Yeah.
So we're both Marconic energy practitioners, and I know that this energy modalities really has changed us in such beautiful ways and cracked us open and exposed us to so much. What has your journey been like? What have you learned about yourself being on this journey as an energy practitioner and kind of exploring this different aspect of your spiritual life? What's it been like for you?
Well, it hasn't been all roses, for sure. I'll say that. In the beginning, I would say that it was roses. It was an incredible, just the first initial activations and having a no touch and getting to make the decision to be recalibrated, and that was all just incredible. Through my very first session and having the experience of having all of this anger and anxiety exit was incredible. And I will say, I had been on anxiety and panic medication for, I started when I was 21. So 19 years, I was on
Wow.
3 very heavy medications to manage anxiety, depression, panic, all of these
All of
things that
it, right?
that I really just didn't know how to deal. And I truly believe a lot of that was as an empath, absorbing things for other people and taking on lots of things and not managing it.
Not having the discernment, maybe that this isn't yours, that you can
Exactly.
give it back. Like you think it's yours because it feels like yours, right? But it's really not your energy that you're absorbing and carrying.
Truly. And that was something that I did not understand at all.
Mm-hmm.
But after my first sessions, I had this level of detachment and not getting angry, and not just my emotions changed. So it was like so obvious to even my mother and my daughter even said, they're just like, you're so different. You're not just all like crazy, just like hyped up and mad and overreactive. And I just all of a sudden became so peaceful. And it was just this beautiful opportunity to feel a way that I had never experienced. I was not, heavily into anything as far as drinking and drugs and stuff like that. And I just had never experienced this level of ecstasy of just like being chilled out. It was just like, I loved it. And I knew that I had found something, and it was something that I needed to explore and pursue, and something that I wanted to help give to other people. And I knew that I had to become a practitioner right after recalibration.
Did you intentionally go in there wanting to surrender that?
No.
Like, it just happened. It just kind of happened for you?
Mm-hmm. And that's something I do explain, to the clients too. I'm like, you don't have to. I mean, we actually encourage people to not have specific
agendas yes, right.
But to know that the energy is going to do its job. It's going to do whatever you need at the time that you're receiving it. And at the time I received it, I definitely needed to turn it down a few notches.
Yeah.
But just
that must have been amazing for you to be in the new space. Like, what do I even do with this?
It was mind-blowing, because the world of advertising is intense, and single parenthood and doing all of the things and just being all of these roles that I had. And I was also very actively dancing and performing. So I had all these pockets of places where I just needed to be like on and ready and Sara, and this is how I am. And I just all of a sudden was just like, what's the race for? Why am I trying to do all of these things? Like, who am I trying to please? And it really just kind of peeled all of that away. And I started seeing myself in such a different light. And I remember also one of my biggest, most pivotal, just kind of light bulb moments was looking back at pictures after I'd been recalibrated, and looking at pictures of myself growing up through the years, and even in recent dance pictures and stuff. I looked at those photos and I was like, what a beautiful human being. And that was something that I never thought about myself at all. Like,
I love that.
But I just looked, and I remember crying like pretty intensely and just saying, this person is so precious, and why does she hate herself? Why does she think she's unlovable to whatever?
It just made me cry. I should have brought tissue. My eyes are watering. Oh no, Sara.
It really, I mean, it's to find the love for myself that I found through Marconics. Like, it leaves me speechless at times when I think about it, because I really did. And I still look at photos and I just think, what a precious person, like, to have gone so long through my life not truly loving and embracing myself, and finding the compassion and seeing that I just want to do right and help people and do my job and do all these things. And I just
it's incredible that we are you know, we're here and we're living our lives, and we can't see ourselves clearly. We don't see our light.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't allow ourselves to love ourselves and honor ourselves for who we are and what we're bringing, you know, to this world.
Yeah.
And I think I'm crying because I went through the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
where I was just fighting so hard to be seen or to prove something to myself, and I didn't have to. I was enough already.
Mm-hmm.
I was born this
Perfect.
perfect, beautiful light being, and we're all born as
Yeah.
this perfect, beautiful light being, and we just forget
Yeah.
over time, like who we are, you know, and why we're here.
Mm-hmm. Truly.
I knew I should have brought tissue to this interview. I even said right before I hit record, am I going to need a tissue? No, I'll be fine. Here I am, crying. But I think that's so beautiful that you got to that space, and I just honor you for having that moment of realization and clarity.
Yeah, it was like I literally stepped outside of myself and saw myself as just someone. It was like I was almost detached, and it was just like it was
That's so
a
powerful.
moment, and I still feel that way when I look at pictures, and I just think
I
what
love
a,
that.
you
I
know.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that just coming in for that experience of a recalibration and no touch energy, and you leave changed. You
Oh
do.
yeah.
It
Yeah, I mean, I
changes you.
remember her saying, you know, after the first session, she said, "You'll never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never be the same after today." And it was so true. And I remember after recalibration asking, because I just had so much coming through and so much, and I was just like, how do I go back? And she's like, do you want to go back? And I said, no. And she's like, there's no going back.
You need
But
to
I
go
just,
forward. You need to go
yeah,
forward.
I think I had the wrong words,
Yeah.
but I was just like, no, I don't want to go back. And I said, but like everything's different now. Like
Yeah.
it just,
You
and
did
I had,
change. I think the detachment is a huge gift and a huge part of it. You
mm-hmm,
organically, without trying, really detach from things that used to trigger you.
mm-hmm,
You're able to really detach from things that originally you would have engaged in or created conflict.
mm-hmm,
There's like this organic detachment that happens after a recalibration. For me, it was like, I don't have to respond to that text or
yeah,
get sucked into that drama or um, prove anything anymore. It, detachment was such a huge gift
mm-hmm.
as a result of that process for me, and it sounds like it was for you too.
It was taught, it was right up there. Just having this new freedom of this is me and that's you. I'm not taking that.
Yeah, I think that's, you just described it and hit the nail on the head, is you start being so cognizant of what is yours to carry and then what is not, and being able to give that back to the person who, quite frankly, is very unhappy about you not carrying their emotional stuff. They don't like you because now you're not taking on their stuff, you're giving it back. And it's like, actually,
Yeah.
this is your stuff to work out and to really figure out, and it's not mine to carry anymore.
Mm-mm.
So it does change a lot of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Things get really shaken out, and people either align and come with you or they fall away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of that process, and letting people fall away and not trying to hold on and say,
right, because it's actually not even just the people, but it's really the energy that's not in
mm-hmm,
alignment. Everything's the energy, right? It's not, it's whether it's defined by a person, a job, a place, it's
I
all
love
energy.
that.
So it's really a willingness to release what no longer serves you and no longer aligns with who you are and your truth and your alignment and your heart, right? Your soul, honestly.
Yeah.
and having the courage to let things go and trust that beautiful things are coming.
Yeah, for sure. And they do. They do. It is, it's such a beautiful process and birthing kind of almost
Mm-hmm.
to go through. And
It also requires work. It's not a hall pass. It's not a quick fix. It's a tool. It's a
yeah.
tool to help you to, look at your inner stuff and
Mm-hmm.
peel and release and shed these layers and layers and layers of you that you've been carrying for lifetimes
Mm-hmm.
that you no longer have to carry.
Yeah.
Because those energetically don't align with you anymore. That's energy too.
Mm-hmm.
The things that are being released aren't just external. There's a huge well of internal stuff. Even
Mm-hmm.
some of it's subconscious, or it's in our DNA, or it's there, but we're not even aware it's there until we start doing that inner work. It's like you start pulling layer after layer after layer off, and you're like, oh my God, seriously? I thought I worked through that shit. No, there's another layer. Yeah, it's another layer coming up. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that comes through, I think, also with a lot of clients. And when they come for the work and helping them understand, like, you're not just clearing trauma and karma from this lifetime, it's many lifetimes.
Many
That,
lifetimes.
I think, for a lot of people is quite mind-blowing.
I honor the journey. I honor the journey of every person who has the courage
Truly.
to take this incredible journey back to yourself.
Yeah.
It's very powerful, and it will set you free, but it's work. That's what we're here for, is to support people doing that. Sara's located in Boston. So if you are interested in having a session with her, you can find her. Sara Ford. You can Google her. But any last words, Sara? Anything that you want to share that might help somebody who's going through a hard time, or maybe looking to break through that next, go through that next eye of the needle and break through to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, and also just one of the pearls in my healing work and messages that have come through is to understand that you already do have all of your answers. Your path is already inside of you, and it's really finding it within you and asking yourself what's next for you, and not worrying about what other people are doing, and knowing that truly your connection is your greatest gift possible, and it has all of the information that you have and that you need in moving forward and getting your next steps. I think that so many of us are just constantly, prior to Marconics, I was constantly looking outside and trying to find, what else can I get to climb up and get where I'm going, and to understand that I just have a seat and go inside, go within, and have that conversation with yourself, and know that it's just really kind of getting that stillness to create the space so that you can get your answers, because we're so busy in our minds and activities and doing things that we don't always hear all of those things that are coming from us, higher us.
Right.
And you already have what you need. It's just truly being willing to do the work. And it's a daily commitment. It's something that I know, and I talk about with many of my friends. We do this work every day. This isn't just something you do on the weekend.
It's not a side hustle. It's a commitment.
Yeah. And it's but it is so worth it. I mean, the abundance and prosperity and love and bliss I've gotten through this work is indescribable.
Unbelievable. It's magic.
Yeah,
It is. Well, Sara, I love you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I know that there are going to be people out there who can resonate with your story. So I hope that we can inspire them to have the courage to keep going and
Yeah,
do that inner work and trust themselves and find their joy.
absolutely.
And
Thank
to
you for
my
having me.
audience,
I love you. Thank you for doing these. These are beautiful. I
oh,
love
thank
them.
you. To my audience, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you all love yourselves and have a beautiful day. We'll see you later. Bye.